Hey legends, hope you're having a fantastic day. Today in this video I'm going to vinyl wrap and epoxy my benchtop. This is the first time I've ever done vinyl wrap or epoxy, and it's my first ever YouTube video. Let's see how we did.
And welcome over to the voiceover. I will voice over the entire process with my little tips and tricks and just comments around the place. I hope you enjoy. So there was a lot of silicone that was left over from when the sink was previously installed. So here I am scraping it down with acetane just to get any of the grime off or that silicone off. It was quite sticky. Ideally we want the surface to be as clean and flat as possible. So I'm just going over everything once with some of that acetone, getting any grime off. Getting ready to silicone now. It's been a bit of a pain. It was a previously used one. So cutting all the dried up silicone off. Got these little yellow bits of rubber from Bunnings. They're like $2, super cheap. I thought I'd give them a shot. Meant to just tidy up the groove. This is my first attempt at, just with a bit of scrap, trying to get the vinyl on and then having to play around with that heat gun. This is all my first time, so I'm just learning how sensitive the stuff is, how flexible it becomes. And it stretches really nicely, really easily, which is a relief. Got it on medium setting. I didn't experiment too much. Just adding an attachment, which I found to be a lot better, more direct heat. And just flattening it out. And I'll give another try here. This is a slightly different corner, it's more beveled, whereas the other one's a sharper corner. So you heat it up and pull it down. And here we go, let's have a look. It bends beautifully over the corner, really seamless. Totally molds to the corner, although it's a lot easier with a smaller piece than it will be with the larger pieces. So back to it. Now the very first bit you stick down is the most important. I probably didn't give enough care as needed, as I'm already running into problems. What I found is tugging off of the back paper that's not sticky. I was tugging just in the middle and it was causing tension in the vinyl just in the middle. So an even pull off of that back bit of paper would have made a good difference here. And I forgot about my coffee. Can't forget about your coffee. I was having a bit of trouble here. The bench is a little bit skinnier as it passes the wall. Not by much, but enough to make a problem. And just to show you how sticky it is, it actually pulled off some of my paint off of the wall, which is a shame. I'll have to touch that up later. In hindsight, it's a lot better to have measured everything and cut it to size before sticking it down. Something I do with the other pieces. Picking up steam here, kind of learning how it all works. This is my first time doing any vinyl wrap, so I'm kind of learning as I go. Trust me, there are a few mistakes around the place. And here I go trying to fix my previous mistakes, trying to get all those little kinks out, but it will be to no avail. And trying again to fix the mistakes. I think the more you do this, the worse it becomes. I don't know, yeah, hard to know if I should have done it or not. I put some special window tint spray. It's kind of like soap, so it doesn't fully stick down. I don't think it made a big difference, to be honest. Probably wouldn't recommend it. And here we are, the heat gun. The heat gun was the absolute savior of this project. It made everything so malleable, so easy to use, wrapped around all the corners very nicely. As you can see here, pretty good. It's not finished, of course, but pretty good start. It's not too hot that you can't touch it, it's almost warm. It really doesn't take much for it to be malleable, so you can still touch it and mold it with your hands. So I'm both using a bit of plastic and my hands to mold it around the corner. And here I am trying to fix some of those little kinks or little air bubbles and things sticking up. So I'm just pricking those air bubbles, heating it up and trying to flatten it all down. And the heat gun's working really, really well. Although you have to be very delicate with this plastic tool, or any tool really. Trying to flatten the entire bench down, get any air bubbles out. And here I was a bit too aggressive. And I kind of pulled the vinyl a little bit. Not happy with that. But it's quite forgiving with the heat gun, and I get that out later. Here we go, working on the other corner. Now this is a good little tip. You heat up the spot and then you just press down with your palm. And that seems to work really, really well. So here I am. This time, the next piece, I'm going to cut it all up to size. You want as little vinyl as needed. It's quite cumbersome, so you want to kind of make it as small as needed, obviously, but covering the entire size. So I'm trying to get rid of as much of the vinyl, which I won't need. That includes all the, over the stove, but still leaving an overhang, so we can cut that later. Change of angle here, and there we go. It's working a lot better this time. There's no creases or bubbles over here, even with the oven being in the way. I think it's just a lot easier with a smaller piece and an hour of experience. Here I go, cutting it off. I was too quick with this. A lot of the cuts are very good, but the one closest to me was not a good cut. I'm not happy with this. Hopefully the silicone will hide it though. There you go. And here I go, I'll show you my mistakes. Look, nice cut on the side. We're going to silicone a small gap, but nice cut, nice cut. And here it was just a little bit too quick with the knife, and it's not as nice. And forgive my dirty stove, please. I'm just cutting off a bit excess because I want that third piece to run all the way through. And once again, I'm going to measure it and cut it just to make it smaller and easier to work with. It's a lot easier to work with it when it's all cut to size, as opposed to sticking it down and then trying to cut it as you go. And trying to evenly get that backing paper off, and it's a lot better outcome, this one, than that first piece, and it's slowly getting better. Cutting all of that excess away from that sink area, and here we go, more moulding around the corner. It's very satisfying watching it all come together. Heat it up and pull. I had to do one at a time because they were overlapping, and there we go, one at a time. It seemed to work a lot better. So it's not too hot, I can still touch it, you can still kind of mould it with your hand following the cupboard. Now I'm really blitzing it on the inside of this sink cavity, because you won't see it. It's a lot easier, and I'm learning how much I can push it, and it just shrivels up and absolutely conforms to the existing carcass of the bench top. It's pretty cool. Cutting off the excess, any excess. And here we go, now trying to get rid of any kinks, any air bubbles. The kinks actually I'm not too worried about because we're going to epoxy over the top, so it will be a glass finish on the top, but the air bubbles are a big concern because the epoxy won't be stable on the air bubbles. It needs a really stable, solid foundation. Air bubbles are not solid, not stable either. Just going over everything, checking. And fixing up that corner as I said I would. You can see it really hug. I think it turned out pretty well. Mending a little mistake I made. I cut off too much in that corner by mistake, not really thinking about it. And excuse my underwear, oh my god. Oh my god. Just giving everything a once over, making sure everything's really nicely hugging the corner. You don't want it delaminating from the corner, because if it delaminates, then the epoxy will also delaminate. and that would not be fun. So just once over everywhere. And checking for any air bubbles. I found one over there. Luckily I got it. And that's that. Vinyl wrap complete. Once again, more silicone. Silicone has got to be my least favorite job of this entire project. It just gets everywhere. Maybe I'm bad at it. But you put it down and then you take half of it off. It baffles me. Getting all the supplies out for the epoxy. Now I want to protect all my cabinetry because that epoxy, it sticks. It's really hard to get off anything. So just protecting all the cupboards, putting some plastic over all the cupboards. And then making sure with extra tape everywhere, because that is the splash zone just under the lip. And now we're making a dam out of the tape to contain the epoxy on top of the bench so it doesn't just spill over, go everywhere. Bit more cleanup. Oh my gosh. Of course I had to wear red underwear of all the colours. Jesus, pull your shirt down, mate. Pull your pants up, one of the two, come on. Shit. I'm using window cleaner to help clean up the silicone. It seems to work really well. I'm not sure why. And back to damming up everything. So I do put 2 layers of tape, the second layer slightly lower, just to make sure that a lot of surface area on that tape, on the bench or whatever it's sticking to, so no epoxy can kind of leak through, because if there's a gap it'll find a way. So mixing part A with part B, and then just every bottle I'll go part A, part B. I measured this out exactly beforehand. It's important to swap buckets because the bottom of the bucket always has a lot of just part A. According to YouTube, this is my first time epoxying a big bench. I've done a few samples. This is a 4mm notch trowel I'm using to spread everything around. 3mm is recommended, but Bunnings didn't seem to have any. So I'm just spreading it around slowly, gently, kind of creating a mini ripple or a mini wave to get it into the corners and letting it self-level out. Also helps get the air bubbles out, just going over everything a little bit, once or twice. Slowly get it all out. Try and get it all level. I was finding, because the vinyl is hydrophobic, that the epoxy wasn't nicely kind of self-leveling. There were pockets where it didn't want to go, just because of that. I guess it was scared of the vinyl. No other way to say it. Hydrophobic. A big mistake here, I didn't know how much to pour in each section. I should have created almost 3 different sections, measured up each individual section, just to know how much to pour in each area, because it wasn't really obvious. And I'm using some flame to help pop any air bubbles. It works very well, but I'll have to give it another crack. And here we go, flame on. You just slightly gloss over the area. This is at 2 times speed still, but just go over it pretty quickly. Because you don't want to burn the epoxy, it can bubble and burn, it doesn't look good. You won't get that out. So just lightly, pops all the air bubbles, makes a big difference. The corners are where you got to look out for. The corners where it's meeting the tape, and that's where a lot of bubbles kind of stick. I'm pretty happy with that. Checking for leaks. And here's a close-up. Nice gloss. Dirty stove. So far I'm very happy with this experiment. I've not seen anyone do this before. You can see here where it's not coming together, it's kind of repelling because of the hydrophobic vinyl wrap, which is a shame, but it does kind of self-level in time. Now I pulled this possibly 20 minutes too late, so it wasn't flowing as much as I was hoping, and possibly I had maybe 10% not enough epoxy. And I'm just helping the epoxy fall down the sides. It was quite viscous, so just helping it down seemed to do the trick. My feet were sticking to the floor, which I'm glad I put protection down on the floor, but my god, it was a nightmare. Alright, here's how it looks after the first coat. Super glossy, exactly the effect I wanted. However, there were these dimples around the place forming, which was a bit concerning. Corners looking pretty good. Perfect corners here. And a bit excess, a bit too much epoxy there. Alright, the next morning. Disaster. Dimples everywhere. After all that hard work, after it looking so good, there was dimples everywhere. I couldn't work out if it was too much heat gun or little bits of dust particles, but I said that's alright. Let's put another coat on. Now this was a mistake. This was a huge mistake. I thought I would just gently cover up the dimples, a nice thin coat, but the epoxy doesn't work like that. My neighbour came through, so we're having a chat to my neighbour whilst trying to work. And secretly I'm frustrated inside because this isn't really working how I wanted at all. So I'm trying to get even more epoxy because it's just not covering the surface at all. It's getting all these drag marks, and I know that's going to just set and be ugly and horrible texture. So I'm trying to add some more epoxy here, but it's still not enough. It's still not really coating evenly. And you can see on this angle it's somewhat leveling out, but it's not the same. It's not enough epoxy to create that glass finish I'm after. You can see how much of a difference the blowtorch makes. And here we are, here's a zoom in. It just wasn't covering everything. There just wasn't enough epoxy. There's little gaps everywhere. It was a bit of a disaster. This was not planned for at all. Just gaps everywhere. There's no overflow at all. And so I decide, let's go again. So I waited 4 hours. So the second coat wasn't fully cured. It was still like tacky, still elastic, and that would create a nice bond for this third and final coat. I did have to go to Bunnings to get this third coat. I had to quickly nip there. And I'm pouring about twice as much as the box recommended. I want heaps of epoxy. I want it to just level out and cover all of the little holes and little crevices that seemingly weren't being filled. using a popsicle stick just to help break the surface tension and ease it into the little holes and crevices. And this was the third and final coat, and it worked a lot better than the other coats just because I had way more epoxy. It just worked well. It worked a lot better. And there we go, I accidentally caught some of the tape on fire, quickly blew it out and just cracked on, no problem. And there was a spill, not sure where it came from, but just trying to clean it all up. I'm using acetone again, and it seemed to work really well. The acetone dilutes it and then wipe it up with a sponge or whatever you've got. Just double checking everything. And fixing up the dam. I should have used 2 layers of tape like the first time. The first time I didn't get any leaks, but this time I got heaps of leaks, which I guess is because I poured way more epoxy, which makes sense. And here we go, it's looking pretty damn good. That is the third coat, and I told myself that's the last coat. You can't just keep adding, it does cost a bit of money. It floats just perfectly up to the stove, really happy with that. And here we go, releasing the dam and helping it once again fall through. I'm probably late once again with releasing this dam. I just didn't want the epoxy spilling everywhere. So just pick your poison, either you pull it too soon and it will fall everywhere, or pull it too late and it won't fall enough. Here we go, light glass, really happy with that. And let's have a look the next morning. Any dimples? No dimples, thank God, oh my gosh. Super happy with that. And here's the before photo, just to remind you how far we've come. And thanks again guys for clicking on the video. This was my first ever video, first time doing vinyl wrap or epoxy. It was an absolute journey because of the mistakes of the dimples midway through, but I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll leave you with some final videos of the finished product.